Hi everybody, it's Daniel, although you may know me as 𝐴𝐵𝐼𝐿𝐼𝐿 from the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐿𝐼 If you haven't seen the last video that I helped out on this channel here, where we covered lots of beta and cut content from 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭�0 of Time on the N64, or as it was known at that point of development, Zelda 64, go check that out. As for today's video, we've got another sort of beta content / cut content video, only this time it's about A Link to the Past. So this is also from the same sort of GigaLeaks that 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭�0 of Time's cut content was from. Not as many people are talking about the A Link to the Past ones. I guess it's not as popular subject, but you know, it's one of my favorite games, so I find this stuff incredibly interesting. The first thing is there is in the game's files what seems to be an early version of the world map. Here you can see actually two versions of it. Here I'll show you. One is very empty, very plain looking, especially compared to what we got in the final game. The other has a little bit more stuff filled in. There's some paths, houses added, a little island at that top right corner there, what looks like the sanctuary maybe. Hyrule Castle, of course, constant in the sort of same place. And then looks like some dungeons added, like what could be the Eastern Palace that we have in the final game. Here you'll notice at the very top left where what looks like the Lost Woods, looks like there's sort of a trio of giant trees in a meadow there on the map. And that's my segue into this next bit of cut content. The one and only, well, three and only, I guess, it's the Great Deku Tree in A Link to the Past. The Great Deku Tree, I guess they had planned for this game and they cut him out, but here he is in his 16-bit glory. He looks very different, but it's really cool to see that this is an idea that they had. It ended up not making it into the final game. They were able to reuse it in 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐿 of Time, thankfully, and many games onward from there. I just absolutely love this. This is one of my favorite finds of these entire leaks. One of my favorite finds is seeing this, the Great Deku Tree here in A Link to the Past. It is weird that there's three of them, that there's like these two smaller ones on either side. Not sure what role those guys would have played, but it's really cool to see. Honing in on some more specific details here, there's what looks like early versions of different areas here. So this could be what looks like the sanctuary that we have in the final game, but maybe an earlier build of it, where they decided to change the aesthetic a little bit. But I kind of like this early build of it. There is also this area here. It looks like an early version of the area around the Eastern Palace in the final build of the game. It looks like it's unfinished and there's some changes in the layout a little bit. Same with this earlier version of Death Mountain. Now it's again pretty similar. We got Spectacle Rock and that portal to the Dark World and some caves you can drop into. Pretty similar to the final game, but not as much stuff on the backdrop, and the Tower of Hera's in the wrong place. I guess they decided to move it as well as change the color palette for the Tower of Hera to a more red brick in the final game, and we're missing some of the background. We also have an early version here of Kakariko Village. The houses are a little different looking. It's got some interesting textures here. I'm not sure if it's just that because it was unfinished and that they look a little glitchy. There's some interesting changes between this and the final version. Rather than the weather vane, there's this sort of, I don't know, pond sort of thing, or like a well sort of thing. I'm not sure what this is. We've got this weird skull thing. I'm not sure what this is. This could have been an early version of the entrance to Skull Woods, which we do have sort of a skeletal thing in the final game where you can enter the dungeon, but this is a really interesting design. It's very different than anything we actually see in the final game. It does remind me a bit of Star-Lord from Twilight Princess. There's some early versions of these Dark World areas. These are pretty similar to what's in the final game as well. Of course, the trees are really different here. This area really looks out of place. This looks more like something you would see in Earthbound Pass. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be an early version of Death Mountain or another area, but very different appearance to what we have in the final game. Now, there's also some what appears to be unused cave and dungeon maps. This one here, I don't think there's any dungeons or caves that use this purple color for these cave walls. Interesting to see here, a treasure chest that opens from the side rather than vertically. It's horizontally oriented. There's also some rooms here where you can see the wall textures are kind of unfinished looking. They're rather plain compared to the ones we get in the final game. There's a couple rooms here that almost look like the shooting gallery that we see in the final game, but maybe unfinished. There's some dungeon maps and dungeon rooms here that look completely unfinished, like this one that has no doors whatsoever, so you can't go in or out of it. This one here where I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore here. But clearly they had something that was unfinished. There's also some unused sprites. There's sort of a different version of Link's sprite, which he's sort of taller. I don't really like how he looks. There's a website, 𝐓𝐷𝐬𝐿𝐥𝐿.org, and they worked hard to sort of recompile these sprites from their different pieces to an approximation of how they think it would look in the final game. So we've got this sort of unused enemy here. He's ugly, and I don't miss him. I'm okay with him not being in the game at all. And this sort of weird turtle, tiger head turtle thing looks like maybe could have been related to Turtle Rock in the final game. It does remind me a bit of one of the boss fights in Link's Awakening, a Turtle Rock. It's just kind of that's what springs to mind when I see this. So this could have been another unused idea that they ended up shelving and using in a different game as well. Otherwise, that's all we've got for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry it's a bit off the cuff and unscripted, but I did think it was really interesting to look at. If you like this kind of stuff or this kind of news, feel free to drop a little subscribe here on the �GameOverJesse channel. If you're wondering who the heck I am, I'm not �GameOverJesse. You can find me all over the internet at @BurgerSin on all forms of social media, including my own YouTube and Twitch channel. Anyways, guys, that's all for me. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐚 here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda Theories, our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐚 on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐚. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our �GameOverJesse or 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐚 t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.